It's the Hack Attack
and the Pharaoh podcast. There we go.
So this is episode 16. Can you believe it, Althea? Can you believe that? 16.
I can't believe it. That's awesome.
And you've been here for all of it. But
you know you're an avid listener.
I'd like to see what the other stuff is about. I can't wait to hear it.
Well,
we're finding our voice. This is episode 16 of us finding our voice.
Well,
I don't know what he's talking about, but episode 16, and they get more and more unique, and I'm very excited to have you on.
Oh wow, unique.
Because you are unique. Don't you
Yes.
agree? You are very unique.
I'm different, definitely.
So let's dive into this. I defer to you. Do you prefer American Indian or Native American?
I prefer Native American, or you could go Native, or you could go Indigenous American.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What nation are you?
I am Navajo, Apache, and Zuni, and so I'm of 3 different nations.
Wow.
Mostly Navajo. So my grandmother was Zuni and Navajo. My grandfather on my mother's side was part Apache and mostly Navajo. So wow. I'd say each of them, they're just like a quarter, but mostly Navajo.
So where did you grow up? Did you grow up on the res?
I was born on the reservation. I was kind of raised all over the place. My father was in the military, so I lived in Alaska for, I'm going to say, a better part of like 3 years. And then my mom, when my parents ended up divorcing, we moved here to Utah, and I've been here since I was 8 years old. I went back to the reservation, not too often, but maybe about a year or 2 here and there. But I went to school, I think high school, for about a year and a half on the reservation, which was very difficult.
Wow. What made it difficult?
It made it difficult because of the language, and because of the fact that there was a huge cultural difference, and I was not used to being around my own people because of the fact that I grew up here in Utah, and I was so used to being around other people who were also my people, who were my friends and the people that I hung out with. So I was just used to I was just used to that. I wasn't used to being on the reservation.
Did you not speak any Dene or anything?
I grew up understanding it. I think once in a great while, I was actually telling other people that I'll bust out and start speaking Navajo, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't even expect it. And I didn't even think I knew what the word meant, as in my brain just pops it out. And I'm like, wait a second, where did that come from?
It lives within you.
I'm just like, I just asked the question to this lady over here, and I was thinking it, but it was an older Navajo lady. And I'm like, wow, how did that happen?
I didn't technically know how to say what I just said.
Yes, exactly.
That's
It just popped out.
It lives within you. So for the record, Althea Sam is an amazing actress, and
yes, she
has been. So I'm going to brag about you for a second. So you moved me in Wind River. I thought Wind River was an incredibly powerful piece of cinema. And for those of you who have seen Wind River, you play the mother,
yes,
of the murdered woman.
Yes, of Kelsey as Bill, who is Natalie on Wind River.
And you can catch her in Yellowstone as well.
Yes,
but that was those are such moving scenes to me, and I want to dive into that. So that's all on the Wind River Indian Reservation. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Wind River is a film that stars Jeremy Renner, where it takes place in the Wind River Indian Reservation in Wyoming. There's a murder, but it's depicting something that happens all too often, which is young women, especially young people, going missing on the reservation, how this isn't reported. It's a grossly unseen problem, crime against this populace. It's not talked about. It's just a bunch of Have you seen me missing person signs in gas stations?
Yes.
And it struck me as so authentic.
Now,
And
was that your first acting role?
That was my first acting role.
so let's talk
Incredible.
about the journey.
Incredible.
I want your journey from not only high school, but how did you get into acting and your education there, where that took you, and how you ended up landing this role in Wind River, because it's amazing. And then I want to talk. I mean, there's all sorts of things I want to talk about. Start there.
Jason's very excited.
Yeah, it's funny because when I went to high school, I really didn't get into theater. I didn't get into any of the programs. I wanted to become a dancer originally.
Oh, wow.
So kind of got knocked down about my dancing from one of my teachers who I can't stand her, and I don't even know her name. I don't even remember her name, Mrs. Smith at East High School. I went to East High School.
You went to East High here in Salt Lake.
I went to East High School here in Salt Lake, and she was my
Unbelievable.
dancing instructor. I think her name was Miss Smith or something, but she, I mean, I had to deal with a lot of racism growing up, and I feel like she had a problem with me being the darkest person in the classroom, so she kind of had a tendency to shove me off to the side and didn't really work well with me.
Yeah, what did that racism look like from kids?
Basically saying I did everything wrong when she wasn't trying to tell me how I can do it correctly, where she would help other people versus helping me out, trying to make me better instead of trying to put me down. And
It was all put you down and no construction.
Yep, exactly. Where she was helping other people out, but she wasn't necessarily trying to work with me and trying to help me out. So it was, you know, and it was a huge problem at East when I went to school there. That was back in the 80s. Basically, we were shoved, you know, a lot of the minorities were shoved into kind of, what is it? From, what's that old show called? Gosh, I can't even think of it. I'm horrible.
Welcome back, Cotter.
Yes, thank you. Welcome
Nice.
back, Cotter.
Well played, Jason.
I was just trying to access your big, beautiful brain. I was like, she's talking about high school. She's talking about. So you were Vinnie Barbarino. You were John.
I was
Travolta?
Vinnie Barbarino. I was shoved into a different classroom. You know.
I was trying to feel you. I was trying to sense you.
Yes.
It's kind of like you speaking in Navajo. It's like I don't know how that just came out of my brain, but we got there. Wow.
Awesome. Yeah.
So East High. So I mean, look, I just finished a medical assisting program here in the Valley at Eagle Gate College, and there was 4 different Dene women across time there. It really draws a lot of them, and 2 of them lived down on Navajo Mountain, right on the southern, like the central Arizona-Utah border. We're talking like you can hit Arizona with a rock.
Right.
And they would come up every other week to attend classes for like a week and then go back down to the res for a week. Unbelievable dedication. And, you know, they're there, and we had a lot of fun. They'd call me brother cousin. I'd call them sister cousin. Every morning I go and, yat shikis, yat bene, it was fun. But a lot of people, there's that disconnect. It's even unknown racism. People thought they were Mexican.
Right.
Everyone else in the class. And this one girl, it was like this facepalm moment for me where 2 weeks ago, this one girl's like, "Oh, wait, you're Indian? I thought you were Mexican." And I was just like,
Yeah.
And how gracefully they navigated that. No, we're not Mexican. We're, and I was thinking, where the hell you been, lady?
Right.
So did you ever get mistaken for that? Like, oh, well, you're brown, you must be Mexican.
I get mistaken for everything. I think the weirdest one was Japanese.
Really?
Yes. I got mistaken for Japanese, and I was like,
where was that?
That was here in Utah. It was kind of funny.
Now, did this person come up and speak Japanese to you?
No, not at all. It was a guy. I don't know. I have no idea, but he was like, "You're Japanese, aren't you?" I'm like,
"Oh no." It's always risky taking a stab at someone's ethnicity. Like, yeah. You must be Thai, right?
Right.
Or do people come up to you and start speaking Spanish without saying
Spanish? Yes, all the time. Even Spanish people come up to me and speak Spanish. Guamanian. Recently, I just got
Guam.
Somebody mistook me for being El Salvadorian. That's different,
El
right?
Salvador.
So they
Yes.
got really specific with that one.
That
That's
was
very-
very specific. That's why.
Are
I thought
you
it
from
was
this
funny.
city in El Salvador?
Isn't that funny?
Wow, that's
Especially when they get
crazy.
down to specifics.
Right.
Now-
I recognize you. You're from this neighborhood down in El Salvador.
Salvador.
Now, when you weren't up here in Salt Lake going to East High, which is wow, what res were you on?
I'm from the Navajo. Well, I'm originally from the Navajo Reservation, or my family is from the Navajo Reservation. So I was born on the Navajo Reservation. Like I said, I lived there for a little while, moved up. My father was in the military. So
Is that in Four Corners area?
Yes, Tuba City, Arizona, which is actually about 75 miles away from Flagstaff, Arizona. I don't know.
Oh,
if you're-
okay. Yeah. Northern. Yeah, beautiful.
I think Ted Danson is from Flagstaff,
Ted Danson.
Arizona, originally also.
We're evoking a lot of TV here.
Yes,
so.
Ted Danson.
So yeah, so
Wow.
let's use that as a segue to circle back around. So going back to this dance teacher, did she turn you off from the arts? Like,
He turned me off from the arts big time. And then, when I went to college, because I went to the University of Utah, I took a dancing class, like a dancing music class. And that particular teacher, exactly the same. I don't know what it is about people not wanting me to do dance, but that's what I really wanted to do. That was my passion. And she kind of just knocked me down also. So
Railroaded you. What?
yeah, it was weird. And I'm
What did
like,
you end up studying?
terrible.
What did you study at the U?
So I changed my major like a million different times. I think I
I
went
feel you
from
there.
computer science to
Wow.
computer engineering to electrical engineering to
There was
civil-
no future in computers at the time.
no. It was in the 90s. I don't know.
Jury
not
was still
that
out
old.
with computers.
Right? I'm not that old. Come on now.
We're not talking tubes. And
Right?
In World War II, like computers filled like a room. That's like, whoa. Well, so did you take any theater classes? Did you start studying acting? When did that bug grow in you?
When I originally thought I was going to be a background person on Wind River. So I took a picture of myself in my car, trying to get some good sunlight. And I sent it to the email address that was given, and couldn't get a hold of anybody. Eventually, I think it was Aaron Young or Aaron Yun. I think that's his last name. He's one of
Yeah.
the casting directors.
uh-huh.
It finally got to him at some point, and he said, we've been looking for background actors for a while. And he was like, I'm going to submit you for something else because they haven't been able to get somebody for this particular part, but it's a feature.
Wow.
It's a feature part. And I was like, okay, go ahead, whatever.
Sure.
Not thinking I was going to go in and I was going to be a background actress somewhere at one of these,
Like a
whatever. Yeah. And then I got
server
phone
at a
call.
bar or something.
Right, exactly. And it was just all of a sudden, I got a phone call probably 11 o'clock in the evening. Taylor Sheridan saw your picture and he wants you to come in for one of the major roles.
Wow.
And that's the writer and director, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
because he
you're
he
right.
does Yellowstone. He directs Yellowstone.
Yes.
So this is the casting call. What was it? Searching just for indigenous faces, Native
Yes.
Americans, and then you sent that, and they liked your look. You're growing. You're going through up the ladder, so to speak.
Right.
So what? You went in?
Yes, I went in and we set up a meeting for a Saturday.
Taylor Sheridan and you?
Taylor Sheridan.
This
I
is
didn't know who Taylor Sheridan was from today or tomorrow or next week. I had no idea who.
Yeah.
he
So you
was.
don't
That's awesome.
you don't know enough to be maybe in awe or nervous. You're like, wow.
No, I walked in and I was like, it was like going in and talking to, I don't know,
Just Joe
whoever.
Blow off the street.
Right, some person off the street, and I didn't realize he was in Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, he was that
Yeah.
sheriff for a while. Yeah.
Wrote
Yeah,
and direct.
I didn't know anything. When I walked in, I
Color
saw
High
all these
Water,
pictures.
Sicario.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know, and I saw all these pictures on the wall, and of all the actors, and I was like, "Ooh, there's Graham Greene,"
Oh, beautiful.
Jeremy Renner. Oh my God, I'm in love. And then I was like, and I saw all these different pictures, and I walked in and he sat me down and we started to chat, and he told me to bring in a resume.
Ah,
So do you know what my resume was?
what was on it?
It was my job resume. I've been working for UPS for 25 years. And
I
It
can't.
shows consistency though. It shows dedication, loyalty. you
I
know.
can, I can warehouse. I can admin. I can inventory. I can.
right. And then it
No.
also showed my military background. And he saw that and he was like, oh, so I see you got a Marksman Award for shooting.
Wow.
So I was like, yes, I did. I'm a good shot. Get me in a
Crack
room.
shot.
Yes. I was like, get me in a room with a bullseye and I could probably hit it about maybe 8 times out of 10. So and
More than I
he
could do.
laughed. He laughed and we kind of just joked around a little bit. And he told me what the part was about, what the film was about. And I thought it was very interesting. And he was like, do you think you can bring it? Give me a situation where you've been or in your lifetime that you feel like you can bring it as an actress or in front of the camera, so that I can trust that you would be able to bring it. And I told him, well, my daughter went to Florence because she was doing a student abroad. She was going to school at Syracuse University in upstate New York. And while she was doing her student abroad, she, for fall break, she decided to go to Morocco by herself. And I don't know if you know Morocco, but it's considered a warring, I guess, very Muslim, mostly Muslim state. So women can't walk around without somebody,
A man, a covering. Yeah.
yes, a man.
Very conservative.
Mm-hmm. So to me, I was just very upset that she would be doing something like this without asking me first. She already bought her plane ticket. She was ready to go. And the whole entire time I found out that her taxi ride was going to be about 5.5 hours in order for her to get to her destination. And I didn't know if somebody was going to try and kidnap her. I didn't know if, it was horrible. So I was stressed out for about 24 hours because I wasn't able to talk to her until she got to her destination. And
She was okay.
She was fine.
God, you had me going. I'm
I
like,
was wondering where that
does
was
this
going.
turn into
I was
like
oh my
a
God.
Liam Neeson taken scenario? I'm
He
like,
was gonna
oh
have to
my
all
God.
take it
I
on
thought
the
you were going
asses.
to tell me something terrible happened to your daughter. And I
Oh,
was
you
like,
know what? After 24 hours, I was.
You were there. You were there mentally.
Yeah, mentally. And I was upset. I was crying. I was walking back and forth in my house. I couldn't go to work. I was like, I can't
She's all
do
but
this.
abducted in the Atlas Mountains of Morocco by then.
Yeah, you just
your
think
mind.
of the worst case scenario as a parent. You don't want to think about the worst case scenario,
You must.
but you do. And
So you
then-
relay all this to Taylor Sheridan.
Yes. And as I was telling him this, I was crying.
You took him there. You took him there.
I took him there.
Yes.
Wow.
And he actually kind of teared up along with me. And so we actually had a moment.
Get the fuck out of here. You had this moment.
I had a moment with Taylor Sheridan.
That's
was-
so cool.
It
That's
was
so cool.
It was awesome. And he said, okay, I'll give you, he didn't really say anything. He was like, we'll give you a call. So I was like, oh, okay, cool.
God.
Whatever. This is weird. I'm just going to be a background. This is just background. I'm still in my head. I'm still.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
want me to be like, holding up
This
a
is an
lamppost or something.
interesting interview for
Yeah.
background.
I'm like, this is kind of weird for a background. I'm supposed
Can you
Right.
bring it walking across the shot in the background?
Yeah.
Can you prove to me that you can bring
I'm
it?
like, is this what actors have to go through? I mean, seriously?
Holy shit.
It's so fun. I mean, I've heard story, and I may have mentioned this on another episode, but watching a documentary on Quentin Tarantino, he'll go up to, featured background and say, okay, who's your character? Where do they come from? Where were they born?
Wow, he gives him a life.
And one person, Jamie Foxx, I don't know if he was kidding or not. He said one guy just said, I don't know, and I didn't see him the next day. So it's not out of the realm of possibility.
It's
but
not.
Holy
but
shit.
yeah, and for your first time going out,
Yep.
And
Yeah.
So then what happens? So we'll call you.
So will call me, and I was like, I probably didn't get it. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Maybe I upset him in some way, or,
The Morocco story hit too close to home.
yeah.
It was all wrong. You shouldn't have told him that.
Right. But after that, I went home and didn't think about it. And my boyfriend at the time was like super excited. He was like, "No, you're gonna get a call back." I was like, "I don't think so."
That's beautiful. The things you let go are the things you get, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it doesn't matter. I'm resolved to it. I let it go.
Right. I didn't. I really, I didn't take it seriously. And then, sure enough, I got a call at like 11:30 at night again, and Taylor Sheridan wants you to be on the film as Annie.
No.
Gil Birmingham's wife, or what's Gil's name on the show? I forget his name, and Natalie's mother. So I was like, oh, cool. What does that mean? What does that mean?
What exactly am I supposed to do here?
Right. So, yeah. And then they kind of set up the situation. So when I had to actually be on set, I had to take a whole bunch of pictures with Gil and Kelsey. Just, doing like a
for the family.
Yeah. For pictures on the,
on the walls and stuff.
Yeah. So we did that initially. That was my first real, being on set or being part of the film. That was my first experience, was the photographs. My second time was just, wardrobe. What am I wearing? This is what you're going to wear. I'm like, okay, great. Second time, they canceled because there was too much snow. Third time, that was my third time. And then the third time was being on set, and they had to put a whole bunch of what is that? The
blood on your arm. Because when she walks into the room, you're self-mutilating your arm in mourning.
Yes, in mourning, and that's actually a sacrifice. So traditionally in Native American culture, as far as like the Chinoopa or the Sundance Sioux way, it's a sacrifice for your family, basically to heal. It's a healing process, and a lot of the Sioux Indians practice mutilate. It's not mutilation. It's just to give a piece of yourself back to to the Creator or Mother Earth in order for you to heal yourself.
Thank you for clarifying that. It's amazing. And this CIA agent or whatever, she walks in. FBI. She walks in on the room,
right?
And
right.
you're doing that, and
right.
That film really moved me in that when I go through there a few times a year. I'll drive up to northwestern Wyoming to ice climb or something. I go through into winter, and I stop in Shoshone, Shoshone, this little town on the Indian River, Wind River Indian Res. And in the gas station, inside, before the hallway, by the bathrooms, is a whole bulletin board of missing persons, hand drawn by everyone with Sharpies and markers. It's real. The film depicts the real. It's Polaroids or copies or photos. People have just drawn with a Sharpie, missing 6 weeks. The young women, young men, mostly women, all Native American, all missing. It's a whole board of them.
Yeah, it's a serious issue. It's happened a lot on the Navajo reservation and all reservations, basically. I mean, it's happened a lot to the Native women. And the thing is that you have, there's a lack of funding when it comes to the police department or the local community. They are not able to go out, and they're not able to do any kind of searching because they're not given the means or the money a lot of times to do those things. So they rely on, because a lot of times on the Navajo reservation or any reservation, the federal government is supposed to come in. And why isn't that the FBI or the federal government, why aren't they going in and doing what they're supposed to, that what we can't do? Why aren't they going in there and doing that themselves? And that really upsets me because that was part of, you know, the deal that was given to the Native people was that, you know what, if we can't give you enough money to do this, then the FBI is going to come in. And so far, the FBI hasn't done jack. Sorry, excuse my language.
Say it.
We're good.
Shit.
Say it. Yeah.
For the Native American people in order to help them out to find these women. And it's not like it's one woman, it's like almost hundreds and thousands of women who have come up missing. And the federal government has not done anything. So it's very upsetting to me. It's very upsetting because I have my own family, not that they've come up missing, but stuff that has not been resolved. My nephew was shot 5 times in the back and 1 time in the heart on the reservation. And so far they didn't capture his killer until just recently, but they couldn't convict him because of the fact they said there was a lack of evidence. And I thought to myself, wait a second, you have several people who saw this happen. How is there a lack of evidence that you can't convict this person for killing my nephew? So
they just sit on their hands.
They just sit on their hands. Nothing's going to be done.
And it just seems once again just marginalizing the Native American, pushing them under the rug. This is ugly. We don't want to see you. We don't want to hear you. Shut up. Stay on your res.
Yeah, I had a friend that was a tribal cop in over on the Shawnee Reservation in Nevada, and they had it was so interesting talking to him about what they could and could not do. You know, how their hands were pretty much tied, but they had for this whole, you know, all these people, they had one FBI agent stationed there that was supposed to cover all these other things.
Right.
And it's like, you're not even giving it a chance. You're not even putting the resources out there to where somebody could do something about it.
Right.
So it's really interesting to hear your firsthand experience of it.
Right. It's not only, you know, it's not only that I have a niece who showed up basically dead on her front porch.
Oh my God.
And, you know, my cousin's sister went out and pulled her inside and couldn't revive her, but she was dropped on her front porch.
What happened to her?
They don't know. And you know what happened with her body? They didn't do an investigation. They didn't check to see what happened. They didn't check to see if she was raped. They didn't check to see what was in her body. They just
did no kind of autopsy.
No autopsy whatsoever. Nothing was done. They just pushed her in formaldehyde and said, okay, we're just going to bury her. And they did this. They did the same thing with my cousin, another cousin's sister. And she was beaten. She was found in a vehicle with a ton of blood just sprayed out of her mouth. And I don't know how long she had been there, but they found her 2 days later.
Jesus Christ.
In this vehicle, basically dead from either from probably an injury that she got while somebody was beating her. And I don't know what happened, but you know, nobody knows what happened. So it's stuff like that goes up, that comes up, and nobody ever investigates any of it. They just dismiss it or let it go because, for one, what we get is we don't have enough funding. We don't have enough money to investigate. Do you want to give us some money to investigate? You know, if you want to help us out, give us some money so we can investigate. And I think that's ridiculous. You're a police department. This should be something that you're given the funds.
Yeah, you're not private investigators. You're not hired by the individual.
You know, I listening to you, God, I think no nation's hands are completely clean. Every nation has some sort of terrible thing to bear in its history. Germany has the Holocaust.
Right.
Australia has what they did to their own Aboriginals. you know, South Africa's apartheid. We have two things I think that are just that they cast a long shadow on our history. We don't like to look at it. We don't like to acknowledge it. Really, really let it hit home. And that is the genocide of the Native American and the displacement, and that is slavery. And there is such a white fragility around both those topics. Like, oh God, oh God, oh God. But so to not face that guilt and that fragility we have about those subjects, we forget.
Yeah.
The easiest way to not think about something is to forget it. I feel when I hear you talk, I hear my niece, my cousin, 3 people, and nothing was done. That it's a systemic problem. That a film like Wind River can't even begin to touch, right? You walk into a real gas station, there's all the missing signs. But I feel we have forgotten your people. It's like a purposeful, deliberate forgetting. You are the forgotten ones. Like, oh yeah, we took their land and we tried to wipe them out through genocide. Sorry. We'll get to that case when we can. Let's forget about this. We're here now. God bless America. Holy shit. It's like,
it's crazy. And then I don't know if you know about the Colorado River and all that stuff that came down through the reservation, through the San Juan. I don't remember what it was, but I think it was copper that was spilled into the Colorado River. And that's a large source of water for the Navajo reservation. And a lot of Native Americans did not have drinking water for a very long time, close to 3 or 4 months, probably even longer in some places. We had to go and get our water, from bottled water, and it's a problem. Nobody really cared.
The basics of existence, water, things that we take for granted. You don't worry about in the city. You remind me of a quick story. I'll never forget this. This guy's haunted me. He haunts me still. I was at Wounded Knee on the Pine Ridge Res, Lakota Res, South Dakota. I'm paying my respects. And I came back to my truck, and this Native guy walks up to me, and he holds up a dream catcher that's strung around his index finger, and he says, "Indian art for a trade?" I said, "What? Sorry, what?" He's like, "Indian art for a trade?" I say, well, yeah, what do you need? And he was just wanting food. He was just wanting stuff. And we didn't really have much in the truck. I felt that I wanted to give him something. And he had these dry, cracked lips and this tired face. And he's looked at me, he says, "Well, do you have any water?" And I looked at him like, water? He was willing to trade me a dream catcher for water. They don't have water on reses. He haunts me to this day. Like I wish I could. I wanted to give him more. You know.
Yeah.
And
Gotcha.
he was just asking. It seemed like he was just wandering, and it's remote. You know, there's not much around. He said, "Do you have any water? Could I have water?"
Yeah. It happens. It's unfortunate, but it happens.
Oh man. So you do this film. So tell me the day of. Tell me about the moment on set.
Oh, the moment on set. So my big part was basically the scene where I'm cutting myself, and I think because of the camera angles, they shot it at least 6 or 7 different times, and I think at some point Elizabeth Olsen maybe walked, or they wanted to set it up differently, so we had to do it again. Not necessarily that she messed up, but I think the angle just wasn't putting enough light on her face or something.
Oh, sure.
So they switched up the camera and moved stuff around, but there were 6 shots. It was all day just trying to, crying basically the whole entire time. And
How did you keep that up?
That's right. How
I mean,
are you
to
doing
do
with that?
take after
well,
take after take?
yeah, that was after a while. It was like, I don't think I have any more tear ducts left, or any water left.
No,
in my tear
no
ducts,
water left.
so. But yeah, I just kept thinking about the issues and the problems on the reservation, and that continued to help me, bring it all out.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
We got some
so
real tears there.
those are real tears. Those are actual tears. And then a lot of it was because of my daughter in Morocco. I was just thinking about
channeling that.
Yeah, channeling all that in. So.
And your own experiences with your family.
Mm-hmm. And just as a mother in general, I think as a parent, you're always worried and you're always concerned about your children, what they're doing and where they're going and everything. So
at the end of the day, it was one day of primary shooting.
It was one day of primary shooting towards the end where you see Jeremy Renner put the blanket on top of me and rub my leg, which I love Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy.
Oh yes, he's so sweet, and I just wanted to give him a hug every single time he touched my leg. I was like, "Can I hug you now?" But I love you. But he is very nice, very sweet, very centered on his acting. An amazing actor, because some actors when. I don't know, the way he went into it, he's all focus. He was picturing himself walking around in the space, trying to get to know the space. And I totally get that. But I've never seen it before because this is my first job.
Right.
After
learning from some titans.
Oh, I know. Oh my gosh. It was amazing. To actually work with these guys, to work with Gil, to work with Elizabeth, to work with Jeremy and Graham. Graham was amazing. He's a fun guy. He's kind of quirky. I love him. Yeah, he's a little quirky,
In what way?
He just likes to do some play, like in between shots. I don't know if he's improvising or if he's playing or teasing or joking around, but that's what he likes to do, and you get to know him. He's great. He's a great person.
That's beautiful.
And towards the end of the day, when I was done with my part, I got 2 standing ovations from the film crew, and
that's incredible.
From everybody, amazing. And they said I did a great job, and they said, well, to the next, Native American actress who's going to start getting more roles and stuff like that. It was very
unbelievable.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
It was very nice. I was
knock it out of the park. First step up to the plate.
It's a haunting piece. The thing that sticks with me the most about the film is the end when Jeremy Renner goes to the house, your house, and Gil answers the door, and his face is painted, and they're sitting out back, and Gil's like, "This is my death face." And Jeremy Renner started looking at him. He's like, "I don't know what the hell it is. It's just something." I felt it's like what Indians should do. And they're just sitting there quietly in the backyard. And that's the end of the film.
Right.
And it gave me chills. It gives me chills to recall it. That's a real wonderfully effective image.
Right.
Just it ends at the house where you are. And oh man, good for you.
It's a great film. That was, And then Taylor really loved what I did. And because of the standing ovation, he told me I would get credits. So so you can see my name, which surprised me that he actually gave me credits on the end of the film as Annie.
Of course.
And
after that performance, hell yeah.
Yeah, I was super excited. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. I'm so happy he gave me credits. So
my God.
Way to go.
Growing up, or as you developed your craft as an actor, who are some of your Native American actor influences? Russell Means, Graham Greene, Wes Studi.
Graham Greene, Wes Studi, Tattoon Cardinal.
I love her. Yeah.
So she's going to be on a new film with it's a Martin Scorsese film called
I saw that.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
I auditioned for the same part she did, Lizzie. I got 2 callbacks for
Oh, wow.
for Lizzie, the same part that she auditioned for, and she's like, I don't know, she's like, oh, who would I say? She's like Rothenberger of Native American actresses, female actresses. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
she's the shiz, she's,
Yeah.
She's in a lot. Yeah.
oh my gosh, she's amazing.
She's
So,
always working.
yeah,
Did you?
so to me,
So you got 2 callbacks though. That's
I got 2 callbacks for that movie and that particular part that she actually got. So I was very honored to find out that I was competing against this superstar.
another
Veteran.
Titan, yeah.
It
Well,
was
and I mean, for people out there that don't realize, in the acting world, getting a callback is huge
It's a
because
big deal.
it says something to your skill level,
right.
and if you don't get the part, there's a million other reasons. Who knows why? They could have
Right.
been, they were looking for the name, whichever or however it worked out. But to get a callback says that Martin Scorsese and whoever his casting people are
Like
Mhm.
you.
like you, and
Right.
you have something that they want. So
Right.
that's I mean, I just got to reiterate how fucking awesome that is.
Yeah, no,
My God.
I thought that was awesome. I like I said, I was honored. I was very honored to get a callback, second callback. So, like, yay.
Oh yeah.
So what's
Hell yeah.
happened since? So what happened after Wind River?
After Wind River, I auditioned for Samantha Long on The Long Road Home for the first season of Yellowstone, episode 4, and I got it.
Nice.
So I became Samantha Long's mother. I don't know if you've watched the TV
Yeah.
show.
So yeah. Tell us next about Yellowstone. More Taylor Sheridan.
More Taylor Sheridan.
How was your reunion with him? Was he like, hey? Was he so happy to see you?
He's very sweet. He's a wonderful person. He's just a super sweet guy. That show is great. I mean, to be on the first season, I really haven't watched all the episodes. I watched the
Yeah.
first season, second season, and haven't really. I get busy and I just
Sure.
haven't been able to watch it.
Yeah.
So.
So who
You're a
are
busy
you?
actor.
Who are you in Yellowstone? What are your scenes like?
I'm actually, I don't have a character name, but my name is Samantha Long. So I am Samantha Long's mother. So I don't know if you're familiar with Morningstar. She's a Native American actress. She's done some stuff. She's done a lot of stuff. She was on Drunken something. I can't remember what it's called. I'm horrible with names. I'm sorry.
Oh.
But she was also on Yellowstone. So she was my daughter on Yellowstone. She's the one who basically kills herself. So she's my
wow.
daughter. And she leaves her kids with Monica, who is Elsie
Yes,
on
yes.
the show. So I gather up the children and I'm getting ready to take them back to Spokane. I think I'm supposed to be living in Spokane, Washington with my husband, but I come to grab the children to take them back, and I'm very upset because I told her to come home many times, but she wanted to stay, and she didn't want to come back. I don't know why she didn't want to come back. My understanding is that because there was a situation between mother and daughter that she just wanted to be able to live by herself without her mom taking care of her all the time. So
So one of the things we like to do on this show is Google. We
Google.
Google a lot of things.
Indeed.
So Drunk Town's finest.
There you go.
So if
the one.
anybody ever sees this video, I'm not ignoring Althea by getting on my phone. I'm trying to Google
This guy,
what we're talking
He's
about.
the worst.
I am the worst.
I have to
My
apologize.
attention span is for shit.
I must apologize for my
Morningstar. Yeah,
co-host.
she's
Yeah.
great. There's also Crystal Lightning, who was also one Vedra. She was Vedra. She was one of the girls on the show in my particular scene as I'm, taking the children. But she's also very well known. She was on Tinkertown in Canada. She was on a new television show on CNBC, so Canada NBC.
Okay.
They
Canadian
actually,
NBC.
Not to be confused with the news channel.
oh yeah, you know
BC,
what?
NBC,
Canada,
Canadian
NBC, I think it's called, yeah, CNBC,
Canuck
That's awesome.
National Broadcasting Corporation.
something like that. I'm not, but
Oh,
she did
man.
really good. She just won an award. I'm super proud of
Oh,
her.
that's great.
So yeah,
So for you, I mean, wow, talk about a auspicious beginning. You got Wind River, then you got Yellowstone. What came next? I mean, because you're still
Did
going.
you go to New York for something, for filming
yes,
something?
I went to New York for a movie. I'm not too sure where this director is going with this film, but it's supposed to be kind of a spiritual film about. It's called Writing to Mystic or
Driving to Mystic.
Driving to Mystic. I'm sorry.
No, we looked again. Google.
You guys
We
are
looked-
awesome.
We looked you up. We looked you up.
Do our homework.
Driving to Mystic, and it basically he's trying to make this about a journey this filmmaker has, trying to figure out what types of films he wants to do, and how he can get some sort of inspiration. So it's not too far from being, I'm not too far from being my own self, because I actually talk about the Sundance ceremony, and I don't know if you're familiar.
No, we were going to ask you because you just did a Sundance ceremony last weekend, right?
I just completed my 4-year Sundance ceremony.
Were you in the Dakotas?
No, I was actually in Arizona, on the
Wow.
reservation.
Yeah, definitely tell us about that.
Tell us what you
Um,
can. What you can.
Oh, yeah.
What I
Yeah.
can. Basically, it's once you start a Sundance ceremony, you commit yourself for 4 years. It's supposed to be a self-sacrifice for your family members and for the nation, for the Native American, mostly for the Navajo people, but we do for all nations. We just pray a lot, and basically we do sweat lodges in the morning, sweat lodges in the evening, and it's kind of a self-sacrifice and a quest for spirituality, and just not necessarily to be enlightened. I guess your ultimate goal is to be enlightened, to become more in tune or more balanced spiritually.
Wow.
So that's basically what it's about. It's about becoming more in tune with yourself, more in tune with nature, and with your spirituality.
How many of these have you done? Was this your first time?
Well, this was my 4th year. So
Fourth year.
in our culture, you have to complete a circle. So you have to do it for 4 years. When you begin a Sundance, you have to complete a 4-year cycle. That's the different directions. It goes west, north, east, and south. And so there's 4 different directions. And you want to cycle yourself in those 4 directions, basically, calling on your kind of, I guess, with, what is that? Your guardian angel, or angels, to come and help you, to hear your prayers, to lift it up to the Creator or God, to help you with your prayers and stuff like that, to help promote your, I like to think of it as promote it to the Creator. But that's not the way it is.
For lack of a better word, market yourself.
That's what happens
Yeah.
on Instagram when they say, "Would you like to promote this story?"
Yeah, well, it's actually not like that. It's just,
No, I know.
Well, so how did it go for you? How did it feel?
it went really well. Initially, I was doing it for my mother, because she's too old now. She's 78 years old, and I started dancing because I was dancing for her, because she can no longer dance. But as the years went on, I began to recognize that I wasn't necessarily dancing for just her, but I was dancing for myself. I grew up very Mormon.
Really?
Yes.
How did this come about?
I was baptized in the Mormon Church. I went to church devoutly for a very long time. And I just didn't feel it, you know. They
Can
say,
I be honest with you?
yes.
And I don't want to offend you.
No, go ahead.
Oh, here we go.
That hearing that makes me really sad that you were brought up Mormon.
Yeah.
That's not your culture. That's
No,
not
it's
your
not.
religion.
No,
That's a
it's
bunch
not.
of white fucking bullshit. You know, so this makes me sad. This makes me
Yes.
sad that you were indoctrinated in something that it's not you. It's not your people.
No, it's
You know?
not. No, and I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you, because I did not feel good. I did not feel good in a Mormon church sitting there. Basically sometimes being ridiculed for being Native American and being called names. And you know,
Oh, I'd like to get my hands on that.
my bishop would say, well, you know, it's not about the people making fun of you, or not about the people judging you. He was like, it's about your spirit and what feels good to you. And I was like, well,
None of
you know,
this.
I would tell him sometimes, I'm like, well, you know, when you tell us that I shouldn't hang out with people who are behaving badly, isn't that the same thing as me going to church and not hanging out with these people who are calling me names and making me feel bad about who I am? Isn't that the same thing, kind of? And he was like, well, you don't have to listen to them. And I was like, just like when I'm hanging out with bad people, I don't have to listen to them telling me that, you know, they're going to get me into trouble, or that I should do this or I should do that, or blah, blah, blah. I was like, to me, it doesn't set right. So I said, and then there was one day where I went up to him and I said, I really don't believe that Joseph Smith was a prophet. Is this a requirement?
A prerequisite, if you will. You know, I
love that.
Speaking of marketing, you know, Bishop, I have a marketing idea. We're marketing this all wrong. This whole business of Joseph Smith being a prophet.
Right. And I said, is that a requirement in order to be Mormon? And he was like, yeah, that's kind of a big requirement.
So you're like, so I'm out. That's it.
I'm out. Yep. And then at the same time, you know, just the way they believe in gays and gay people, and you know, LGB.
They're dinosaurs. They're dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Stick to your own, and this is a moral failing if you're gay or if you're this or if you're that.
Yeah.
They're dinosaurs.
I can't accept that, because in my culture, gay people are looked upon as
a blessing.
As they exist, and they're, you know, there's something to be looked upon as, you know, with wisdom, because they have more wisdom, because they have they're considered to have two spirits, because one of their spirits is man, one of their spirits is female, or vice versa. One of their spirits is female, one of their spirits is man.
They know more. Yeah.
Yes. And they can understand both sides a lot more than, you know, we can, because we're only seeing one side versus both sides. And at the same time, they get the, you know, the prejudice, or the people unable to accept who they are. So they get a lot of backlash. So they also can understand that behavior from all sides also. So like I said, in my culture, we look upon them with, you know, like with dignity and wisdom.
Not let's excommunicate them.
Yeah. Not
try to cut this shit out. You need to go to church harder.
Exactly. Let's
well, how old were you when you got out of the racket? How old were you?
When I got out of the racket, I was about 17, I think, when I finally left.
Getting cognizant, getting mature.
But I went back for a little while, because
they just when you think you're out, they pull you back in.
Yeah, because my daughter, you know, I wasn't too sure. I mean, I wasn't good with religion. So, I mean, I think I told one of my buddies that I was baptized 3 different times in 3 different churches when I was growing up, because everybody kind of just sucked me in. And I was baptized in the Baptist church, and I was baptized in the Mormon church. Plus I was baptized in like a Pentecostal church.
Oh wow!
You call us like
you hit the gamut.
So you're taking out insurance policies, basically.
Yes,
insurance
exactly.
Policies.
So guess where I'm going?
You're going somewhere. You're fully covered.
You can't say I didn't try.
You got something wrong with Judaism? What's wrong with you? I mean, geez.
I have no idea. I was like, what?
Muslim, Hindu. Oh
I'm
man,
like,
be it all.
I was like Forrest Gump when I was little. Yeah, sure, I'll go this way.
Tripping through life, things happen to you, it all working out.
Jason's Forrest Gump.
It all works out somehow.
Right.
My God, that's crazy. So,
Isn't that funny?
so you have a daughter. How many kids you have? Just the
I
daughter?
just have one. They cost way too much money, and she was
They got out of Morocco. That's all that matters.
yeah, she got out of Morocco. She graduated. She works for Hearst magazine in Allentown,
Pennsylvania.
and she's all over. She's been on the cover of Popular Mechanics. She's been on
Your
the cover.
daughter has?
Her photos, not her.
Oh, I'm like, what?
Her photographs.
Is she a
her
robot?
photographs.
Okay, so
What's
she's
that?
a photojournalist.
She's a photojournalist. So a lot of
Oh, so cool.
so she's made the front page for
Oh, amazing.
front cover for Runner's World. I don't know how many times her photographs have been on the cover of Runner's World, but it's been like several times.
Who's counting anymore?
Right.
Who's counting
Amazing.
anymore? It's like I've got all these magazines with.
I have
this
only
stuff.
so many fingers and toes.
That's
Right,
amazing.
exactly. And then, she was on Popular Mechanics for something that she did. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I have that she's done. Bicycle World.
A lot of worlds. So what your lifestyle right now, how often are you auditioning? Do you how much does acting come into play right now?
Every weekend. I have up to 1 to 4 or 5 auditions every weekend. It
Beautiful.
seems like it. Plus, I work 10 to 12 hours a day at UPS.
UPS, trusty old UPS.
And you're
Yes.
working night shifts or?
Yeah, kind of like nice. Well, I work from like 2 o'clock in the morning until 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So usually 10 to 12 hours. Sometimes I'll go in at like 12.
Amazing.
So I'm working all the time, plus trying to memorize my lines. So
Man, I think I'm tough. Man, look at that.
No, seriously, that's quite an accomplishment.
So you get sent these auditions, your agent emails them to you, what have you?
my agent does. She's really good about emailing them. I love my new agent, McCarty.
Oh, great.
Michelle is amazing. Michelle, I don't know if you are familiar with McCarty or not, but
Heard of them, of course.
yeah.
Yeah, Michelle and Benjamin, they're both amazing agents, and I love working with them. Not that I had any problems with TMG. I like TMG also, but it just was, I just had to take a different direction. So.
I understand. So you're doing 4 or 5 a weekend.
Yep.
Self-taping at home.
Yep. Self-taping
killing
them
it.
at home because there's still those COVID standards.
Sure. How many callbacks are you getting? I mean, you're getting a lot of buzz, I bet.
I got a commercial. I got a film which I did in New York City, or not New York, but Long Island, and then I got a commercial. I couldn't be there because of the fact that I got the thing up in Long Island, so the film up in Long Island. So it's hit or miss, you know.
Sure,
and then
yeah.
a lot of the stuff, it's just like John was saying, they're looking for a particular type. It's not necessarily that I'm a bad actress. It's just
No. Oh, there's a plethora of reasons why you may not get the gig. They have nothing to do with you, as they always say. But let's talk Turkey. So surely there must be a shortage of Native American actors. The pool is only so large.
Yes, the pool is only so large, especially here in Utah. I think that I know of here in Utah, there was one other actress in my age group, and her name is Dana. I hope she doesn't mind that I mentioned her name. But
it's free publicity.
Right, there you go. She's the only other person in my age group that I know of. I don't know. I've never heard of anybody else. I don't see any other people on the websites who are Native American actresses.
And I want more. And it's funny, if you said name 30 of your favorite actors, I could, right? But it's gonna be mostly white people. You say name your favorite Native American actors. Yeah, I could name 6 to 8 actors. I could. Right. But even in Hollywood at large, they're the 3%, right? Yeah, Wes Studi, you got Graham Greene, they're the Titans, right?
Right, the Titans.
Russell Means, stuff like that. But beyond that, you're thinking, oh man. So at least but there's work to be had, right?
Yes, there's work to be had. I mean, I don't want to continue to fit in that category as Native American.
Only Native American.
feeling,
You're
yeah.
only. I love that more Native American stories are being told, but your range can you go beyond that, obviously.
I'd love to go beyond that.
Rather than,
to.
well, you're an Indian, let's cast you. You're an Indian. You know.
We need an
Exactly.
indigenous person.
Yeah.
Right. You just for going out for a female lead of a story,
Whatever, what
that
have you.
has nothing to do with your background, your ethnicity, your
Right.
culture.
That's the goal.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
is the goal. Exactly.
It's funny. Have you heard of this thing, this notion of called Utah Black? Are you familiar with this?
Utah Black actors or Utah actors?
Utah Black, in air quotes, is a notion that because Utah sometimes is strapped for diversity, and especially talented actors who are diverse, that whatever ethnicity you are, it can pass for another ethnicity. Like if you're not Black, well, you're Black enough by Utah standards, you're hired. For example, I have, one of my good friends. He's a good friend of ours. He's a Samoan filmmaker and director. He's from Samoa, right?
Uh-huh.
He's in Yellowstone as an Indian. He's always cast as the Mexican sheriff. He's always cast as this, as that. The guy's Pauly. The guy's from Samoa, but they're like, Indian enough, Black enough, Mexican enough. It's called
Wasn't he
Utah
cast,
Black.
He was cast on Yellowstone as a native.
He's in Yellowstone as an Indian. Wes Bentley sticks a shotgun in his face. He's a messenger. He just finished shooting this whole thing where he's like the Navajo sheriff of a small town and weird alien shit's happening. It's called Alien County. They straightened his hair, they braided it, and there you go. There's the Navajo sheriff, and he's really Samoan, right? So
ridiculous.
do you ever get that? Are you ever like, they're like, hey, we want to cast you as the Mexican drug dealer's wife type shit?
You know what? I've gotten that, but I don't know. To me, it just doesn't feel
Doesn't
right.
sit well.
You've declined.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right to me. If they gave it to me, I'd probably take it. Definitely. Like, oh, you look Mexican enough, I would be like, yeah, sure, I'll do it.
Sure.
As long as you don't want to speak Spanish, because I don't speak Spanish.
or pulling off some horrible stereotype or something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Interesting.
I'd probably do it. Yeah, it's work. It's a job.
Sometimes you just gotta get paid.
You gotta do it. It's funny, but how the times are changing. That's still kind of a problem in Utah that I've talked to people about. Yet, say back in the '60s, Laurence Olivier did blackface to be Othello, right? Stuff like that happened where at the time he was nominated for an Oscar. Now today, it would be scandal. It would be horrendously offensive. Right. The last person to do say blackface was Robert Downey Jr. and it was a joke in Tropic Thunder.
It was still, I mean,
I love Tropic Thunder.
I love Tropic Thunder.
But it's sort of like, it's okay if it's a joke and if the joke has self-awareness of itself, but if it's serious, it's offensive, right?
Well, it's for me, Tropic Thunder was a commentary on Hollywood, which going back to, it's not just a Utah problem. It's a Hollywood.
It's a Hollywood problem.
Good point. Excellent point. Yeah.
I mean, we joke about it in Utah because for
a bunch of white Mormons.
Yeah, just the land of, I call it the land of tall white people.
Or the goddamn Aryan race around here. Hitler would love it. It's all blonde hair, blue eyes.
But yeah,
white.
Hollywood still does it, and it's
they do.
I think it's a problem, like you were saying, Althea. There's you and another woman in your age group, where there just needs to be. We need to draw. We had a guest on, Latoya, who was talking. She's African American, and she was talking about needing the people are out there. We just have to find them, and they need to find us, and collaborating and drawing from, these groups and getting, so that teachers in high schools aren't putting down non-white people, aren't breaking them down in bad ways, but constructing them. And there's some great programs here in Salt Lake. Granger High School, Jana Timpson is just amazing as their theater teacher, and she works mainly with people, BIPOC people.
Nice.
So and 4 of them I think just got accepted into the actor training program at the U.
Hey, all right.
So it's growing, but it's still, I mean, it's finding, it's going to be tough to find people for the exact role that we need. but it's growing. I think it's getting better, but we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say,
Utah's changed a lot since, when I was growing up here
yeah.
back in the day, but it's back in the day because I'm so old.
Yeah, computer technology and all.
Right. But when I was younger, it's funny, and this sounds horrible, but I would count in 1 month how many Black people I would see, and I would only come up with one Black.
It was an experiment with yourself.
It was weird.
That doesn't sound horrible to me. I'll do the same thing when I go out to restaurants and eat to this day. Just be more and more aware, increasingly aware of white privilege, and just how goddamn white everything is. Just sitting in a restaurant and counting. All right, are there any people of color? And it's just white, an ocean of white. All white people hanging out with white people. I grew up in Park City. White. Guess how many Black kids there were at our school, high school? Two.
Yeah.
And I was in To Kill a Mockingbird my senior year, the play. And remember that book and film focuses around Tom Robinson as a Black guy who's wrongfully accused of raping a white woman. And Atticus Finch has to be his lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
And it's pivotal that it's a Black guy. We didn't have a Black guy. Certainly no one knew. And of the 2 Black people in school, none of them were actors. We had to outsource to another high school for a Black guy. I'm putting Utah Black in air quotes. He was Indian, as in from India, Eastern Indian.
Wow.
I saw him, dark brown skin, black hair, brown eyes. He's Indian.
Right.
We're more like
Yeah.
No, I get it.
And that was our Tom Robinson. We had to do it because there wasn't enough diversity.
No.
And he was from I think he was from Granger High. I think he was from a high school in Salt Lake.
Wow. They brought him in.
They brought, and he
Wow.
he rehearsed with us. Like he would come up and rehearse with us, and then he did the show with us.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's next for Althea? Where are we going to see you in next?
I'm hoping, I am really hoping, because there's a lot of new Native American films that are coming out. My father went to school with Tony Hillerman, and I know that they're going to start a new TV show dedicated on the Tony Hillerman detective series, which I don't know if you've read any of the Tony Hillerman books at all. I think the show is going to be called Dark Winds, and they're going to be filming it between the Navajo, mostly on the Navajo reservation or close to the Navajo reservation, down in Arizona, New Mexico, and I think parts of Colorado, possibly here in Utah also.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure, but that's going to be up and coming for a lot of Native American actors or actresses and probably a lot of background people. So I think that's going to be a good thing for, the Native community.
Yeah. Keep an eye out. This is a good sort of public service announcement for that.
Yes. And then there's another film that Angelique Midthunder is going to be casting now. Actually, I think she put it on Facebook. It's called Res Ball. So it's basically about a bunch of Native Americans who are playing basketball.
Res Ball.
Oh man.
Yes, Res Ball.
That's great. I used to play basketball up on the Shoshone Reservation.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
In Nevada?
That's awesome.
Yeah, in Nevada.
Nice.
It was
Yeah.
fun.
They were dunking on you and everything.
Oh yeah, I could not keep up with some of those guys were way too fast. I was just like, I was the slow white guy out there.
What Cool Runnings did for Jamaica, this will do.
It was pretty pathetic.
Right.
For Native American basketball.
Right.
Oh
And then
man.
I think Sterling Harjo, and I can't remember his name, but he did Hojo Rabbit or Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit, yeah.
Yeah. What's that guy's name? Who is the director?
He's from New Zealand.
So you're in a film with him, or
No, not at all. He's doing a film, and it's all about Native Americans also, that's filming in Oklahoma. They finished one of their first seasons. I can't remember what the film is called to save my life. But
oh right, he's a Polynesian director, just like
Yes.
what we're talking about.
yes,
Taika Waititi. Yeah, I think he's Maori.
yes, and he's
Yeah.
there's right now. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of stuff right now which is funny because we've never had so much so many different films that are dedicated to hiring Native American people. But
Love
to me,
it.
I feel like it's going to come to a point where, you know how you have to have a different background every single time.
Mhm.
It feels like there's just not enough Native Americans out there who would become background, so they're going to have
That's
to
what
look.
we're talking about.
Yes,
Where you have
yes.
to stack the
Yeah.
deck with Mexican or stack the deck.
Exactly.
We got to get more of them out there.
Latinx, poly.
We got to get them
Yeah.
out there.
Right.
Well, I want, we've taken up so much of your time and you've been so gracious with us.
Yeah,
Before
thank
we
you so
before
much.
we leave, well, I want your parting wisdom. I want your parting advice, but I want it to your people. What you want to say to your people, anyone who wants to be an actor, an actress who wants to get into what you've gotten into. What's your advice? Leave us with that.
My advice is what I would tell anybody else is go online, go on Facebook. There's a lot of projects dedicated to Native American actors. Build a resume, an acting resume.
UPS,
use UPS,
Starbucks,
Versus,
start somewhere.
just put down background actor, whatever.
represent the
headshot.
people, right?
Yep, get a headshot. There's right now, the industry is basically pushing for Native American actors to start, with all these different projects that are coming up. And this is a time that there's going to be Native Americans are going to get so much exposure, and this is going to be a good thing for a lot of different Native Americans. I mean,
I love it.
a lot of these communities are very poor, and for you to get like $125 for being a background actor,
It's a fortune.
that's great.
Yeah.
Do it. So,
And it's telling the story of your people, right?
yes, exactly.
You're telling a story, whether it's telling it over and over again, whether it's a historical piece, whether it's a current piece, it's telling the story.
It's telling the story, and it's you trying to tell the story of this particular person that you feel is the best way to portray who they were or what they did, or, in your heart, what feels good for you to, anyways, to
I love
portray
it.
that part.
Yeah.
Totally, totally like what they would want you to. And that's what I was thinking when I was auditioning for Lizzie in Killers of the Flower Moon. I don't know if you've ever read the book, but the story is great. It's a story about this family who basically got railroaded and, got everything taken away from them. So I wanted to tell her story. I wanted to portray Lizzie exactly the way that I thought she needed to be represented. And I'm sure Tattoo's doing that job right now, but in my heart, I wanted to do this for her because she is a person and she needs her story to be told. And that's what I wanted to do. So, and a lot of these different parts are stories that need to be told.
That's
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
More Native stories. Well, thank you for telling us your story today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Althea Sam
Thank you for having me.
Althea Sam is a very talented Native American actress. She is seen in Wind River. Check that out if you haven't. That's powerful.
She has a lot of projects coming
and
out
all sorts of
soon.
upcoming projects.
Yeah.
So we
check
thank
out
her.
Her IMDb page.
IMDb page. We thank her for taking the time with a couple of schmohawks like us on a Saturday afternoon.
You guys
We
are
can all
awesome.
learn a lot from her. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Althea.
Guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll see you out there on the gilded screen.
Oh yeah. We'll be
All right.
watching.
All right. Take
you guys
care.
Have a good one. Thank
You
you.
too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.